Okay, in this video, we're going to look at how phase affects how we hear things and how we also can affect our panning of a signal through level and phase. There's multiple ways in which our ears can tell where a signal is coming from, and two of those ways are level differences and phase differences. So the phase differences really apply to the the arrival times of the signal. So if something's to the left of you, you're going to hear it in your left ear first, and then your right ear a slight bit later. So we're going to look at this track here. We've got a simple track, bass track in Pro Tools here. We have an analyzer that's set on the master bus, so it's on the left and right output of the track. And we have a lot of things we can look at. The frequency here, the phase and the left and right relationship. And we also have the level meters. So we're going to see how left and right change as we move our panning and such. So let's take a listen to this track. It's just a raw track of a bass. There's some mistakes, but for the most part, it's got a good sound, and it's a good thing to work with here. As you can see, we've got our bass going straight up the middle. If we start doing some panning, you'll notice that it changes over to the side, and at that same time we've got the level differences. So we've got more signal coming out the left speaker, left channel, and less out of the right. Watch how that changes as I pan over. When I get all the way to the left, we've got all of our signal in the left channel and none in the right. Now the same thing occurs when I go to the right side. All in the right, none on the left, and you can see that we're all the way directly onto the right side there. Okay, and we come back, and if we get right in the middle, now we're exactly identical again, both channels, and right up the middle. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this track. So I'm going to select it here, and I'm going to go to track and say duplicate. I'm just going to say okay to everything, and then we get an identical track. Now we hit play. It's not making the track any fatter or anything like that. It's just adding volume to the track. It's just like turning up the fader a couple dB, 3 dB. And so if we say, okay, well, I'll pan it left and right, it's really not doing anything different either, because now all we're doing is we're the same as we were before. We're sending the equal amount of signal out left and right. As you can see right there, the yellows are identical, and we're straight up the middle. Okay. Well, we would be straight up the middle if I was pan all the way. Now we're straight up the middle, as you can see right there. Okay, so it's really kind of pointless to have just two tracks, the same exact thing, pan to the left and right. The thing that would make it different is if you did something to one track. You know, obviously if you recorded a separate time, it'd be a whole different ballgame. But just duplicating something and panning it left and right is really completely pointless. So the idea is to do something to it. Right now we're going to do one of the most extreme things you can do to it. We're going to flip the polarity or change the phase. So we're going to go to Audio Suite here in Pro Tools, go to Other, and Invert. And what Invert is going to do is it's basically going to take, and every time the signal goes up or in the positive direction on a track, it's going to change it so it's going down. Every time the signal goes, the waveform goes down, it's going to go up. So see how they're identical right now? If we hit process, we're going to see that this is going to kind of flip upside down. So we hit process, and now you can see how it's flipped upside down. And right now, these two signals are what's called completely out of phase, 180 degrees out of phase. So now, when this one's going up, this one's going down, and they're identical in their distances and stuff like that. There's just one's inverted. You know, plus is minus and minus is plus. So now if we listen to them, while the regular signal is panned to the left and the phase inverted signal is panned to the right, we hear this. Now it sounds kind of full, kind of big, maybe a little weird too. Okay, and you notice that our anti-phase is just going out of control over here on the left. Okay, all our levels are the same and stuff like that, but we do have some kind of interesting things happening acoustically. So our two different signals, you know, one basically the speaker is pushing out, and at the same time the other speaker is pulling in. So as we take these and start to move the signal closer to the center, you'll notice something happens as we get more towards the center. We get less and less signal. As we get right in the middle, there's no signal at all because they're completely canceling each other out. So that's because it's just simple kind of addition. If we add, if we gave this a value, said this was -10 and this was +10, this was 0 and 0 and maybe +5 and -5, we added those all up, we get 0 all the way across. So that's what's happening voltage-wise here, is we're just adding these things together and they're canceling each other out. So there's two signals completely out of phase adding together, and as you can see, I'm playing this stuff, and it's just totally out of phase. It's not playing anything, not doing anything. As soon as I start pulling it away from the center, it's starting to play something because they're not right on top of each other. They're coming out of different speakers, and so that difference of one going in, one coming out simultaneously can be heard. They're not fighting against each other. Okay. The cool thing that happens here is we're all hard left and hard right. Watch what happens to the meter here, left and right, as I take the left side and start moving it in. Look at that. I'm all the way on anti-phase over to the left. And then when I get all the way over to the right side with the other speaker, it looks like I'm almost to the left side. And it sounds like I'm on the left. Okay, the same thing happens on this other side. Of course, it stops there. Okay, and we pull it in, and it sounds like we're on the right side. Okay, so it's kind of an interesting thing our brain does, is when we get into that anti-phase realm, it really like projects it over to the opposite side of the range. And phase is what they use a lot of times to create some cool effects that make it sound like the image is coming beyond the width of our speakers. It's because it's tricking our brain into thinking that it's from further away. It's kind of like the 3D effect with movies and stuff like that. That's really, the two ears is similar to our two eyes, and by adjusting that effect, we can make things, seem wider or bigger than just like 3D, that flat screen in front of us, or wider than these two speakers in front of us. Okay, so that's the start of phase there, and hopefully that helps you out a little bit. But I would suggest taking it, doing something like this, flipping a track out of phase, pan it over the side, and you can do some really cool stuff with it.